right, good day to you. My name is Fred Oakman, and as always, we are PS This Is Awesome, a PlayStation podcast, and today with me is longtime listener and supporter LJ Ocker. Welcome back to the show, LJ. This is LJ's second time filling in for Jake Peters. Jake has a birthday going on, and he's out. He's out of the area. He's living the good life, the high life, and happy to have you here, LJ. And this is episode 238 of the show, and we're a show where we share our feelings about the current state of PlayStation. Before we get on with the show, I want to invite you all to subscribe to our channel on youtube.com/PSThisIsAwesome. You can visit us on Twitter at PSThisIsAwesome. If you want to make fun of our trophy list on the PSN, you can find me at Anchorless_81, and you can make fun of LJ at Blip_McDougal. And if you do want to find Jake Peters, he is Jake Saw 01. And Jake is the regular co-host of the show. LJ, this is your second appearance, and I'm so excited. And if the listeners want to write into our show, you can write us at psthisisawesome@gmail.com. Most importantly, don't forget to share the show with your friends. Be sure to leave comments and rate the podcast as you see fit. And as a reminder, this is a video podcast as well, so you can stare at our ugly mugs while we talk about video games we prefer over on our YouTube channel. But for new and or long-time listeners, we have a Patreon. You can support our show for $1 a month at a $1 level called the One and Only $1 Club. Head over to patreon.com/PSThisIsAwesome, and you can become a $1 patron of our show. We will mail you a free die-cut vinyl sticker, and we'll give you a shout-out as well. With that out of the way, LJ, how are we doing today? You doing good?
Doing real well. Excited, honored to be back. I'm excited to talk about a lot of news related to PlayStation.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. Yeah, there's a lot going on. It's funny that I've been fucking busy, man. So I've been playing a lot of shows, a lot of concerts, and I played this really cool thing called the Tall Ships Festival in Erie. I don't know, Erie, Pennsylvania, that is, and the Tall Ships is a thing that doesn't just occur in Erie, Pennsylvania. So these ships, I believe, they just roll around, and I think I don't know where the next stop was, but they were in Lake Erie, and they're like huge ships that you would see, like old pirate ships, like Pirates of the Caribbean ships. They're huge, and they're really, really cool. Erie is known for the first Niagara, which was involved in the War of 1812, and that ship floats around, and it's just like, it's cool to see pictures, but to actually see these things in real life, it's just like, I was kind of gobstopped, like looking at them. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, wow, these things are enormous. And then because I got in free because I was playing, this was Sunday. We'll get to the debacle that happened. But so Sunday, I play, and I have like the cool little lanyard, and I got to go on all these different ships. You weren't getting free rides, but you could go on them, right? They were at the port, they were docked, and you could go on in some of the boats with rock and stuff, and you had to find your sea legs because, a couple of people were like, whoa, grabbing onto shit and stuff because they're so big and they're so old. They're not really, they're just, they're on the water, of course, but when you have a ship that large and you look up and you see these masts that are just so high up there, and you're like, wow, this is insane. Like, it really gives you a different perspective of these things. And the one thing that I thought that was really weird was Homeland Security was there, the FBI were there, there were like Border Patrol was there, Customs were there, and I'm like, why? State Police were there, local government officers were there, we had local police, we had security, like it was on lockdown. And I'm like, what? I started asking, like, why are so many people here? And they were like, well, last year we didn't have any international ships, but there are ships here from Spain. So obviously, they have to treat these ships like there's foreign ships in your waters. You know what I mean? So it's a big deal, even though it's tourist attraction. So every 5-10 minutes you'd see like a U.S. Coast Guard boat just like cruising by, and you're like, wow, this is real deal. So I got on the ship from Spain, and I forget what it was called even now. I don't remember what it was called, but it was really cool. Got to go down inside it while it was docked. You could get up on the higher tier, and the staff were all speaking another language, and I'm thinking, man, could you imagine being in one of these one of these ships? Don't make that error. But imagine being on one of these ships in like 2 or 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, absolute darkness in the middle of the ocean in a storm, just coming across. Like, dude, no thank you. Like, that's got to be one of the scariest things. Like, you gotta have like some gusto to be on one of those ships and bring it over. Like, modern day ships, sure, there's still an element of danger, right? But when you're on one of these old fucking things, or things made to be used like an old ship, you really got to know your stuff. You can have all the technology in your pocket, but at the end of the day, you're using the sails, and you're going out in the middle of these oceans, and you're just winging it. You're going for it. And it's just like, man. Now, I'm sure they probably stay pretty close to the coastline and stuff, I would imagine. But holy mackerel, man. It was really cool. So that was Sunday, but what I was getting at was I was scheduled to play an earlier gig there from like 11 to 2. So it's in Erie. Erie's like an hour from me. So I like to be at my concerts at least an hour before I'm supposed to play. That way I'm not like rushing things, try to be professional. So I'm leaving Meadville at 9 o'clock in the morning. And like, it's not supposed to start getting hot till about noon or so, right? So, I got jeans, got my snap button shirt on. I get up there, it took me a while to figure out how to break through the gates to get back to where I needed to go without any kind of pass. I picked up my guitar. I was like, I'm a musician today. Oh, okay, yeah, come on through. They didn't even check my bags or anything. It was kind of cool. They should have, but they didn't. But so I got back there, and I'm standing there, and the sound guy's running late, and then in walks another musician that I'm friends with onto the pier, and he goes, "Hey, Fred, how you doing?" I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" And he goes, "You playing today?" And I'm like, yeah, I'm playing 11. He goes, "Huh?" He goes, "I'm supposed to be playing 11. And I'm like, "No." I'm like, "You're playing 11? I said, "Because I got the email right here." And he goes, "Oh, I got an email right here." They double book. So, like, he was supposed to play, well, arguably, one of us were supposed to play later that day from, like, 2:30 to 5:30. And we looked at the brochure that was being passed out to everybody, and I was the 2:30 guy. So I was like, "You know what, Jay, you're a good dude. Even though we were both told 11, go ahead and do your thing. I'll take it up with the promoter, the event booker, or whatever, and let them know what happened." And I try to keep things peaceful and nice. So I at least informed them that they had messed up, and I said, "Listen, I passed. Jay's doing the beginning. I'll do later." So, anyways, I was in the sun. I was in the sun from like 10 o'clock until 6 o'clock that day. And I was in jeans, and I wasn't given any free beverages. There was no water to go around. It was so poorly organized behind the scenes. It was really cool for anyone who paid and just got there. You go check out the boats, whatever. But like for anybody who was like directly involved, like myself, dude, I was buying water bottles, $2 a bottle, just trying to stay hydrated. Then I had to play a 3-hour set in the sun. And dude, honestly, this is probably, if it weren't for my ability to get on all these ships and check it out, it would have been like probably my least favorite concert I've played all year, which is crazy.
Wow.
Because I was just so miserable. You know what I mean? I was just sweating to death. I was uncomfortable. And I had just gotten off of playing Friday night and Saturday night. So like my voice wasn't perfect. And I was just like, man, this is, I was just exhausted, man. Needless to say. So that was kind of my weekend wrapped up. In summary, I guess. Oh, and I got heckled on Friday night. I got heckled. It was hilarious because that never happens to me. And I think the guy actually had some mental health going on. But he was sitting at a bar at a place that I was playing. This is actually a really funny story. He was sitting at a bar. And for those who don't know, I play all original material. Once in a while, I'll do a cover song. But these places always have me back. Patrons like it. They love what I bring to the table. This guy's got his back to me. He's drinking. I play 2 or 3 songs. And he kind of spins around and he goes, "Show me who you are." And like, there's not like a ton of people there, right? It's still early on in the evening. And I'm like looking at him and he goes, "Show me who you are." And like, he's like this older dude. He's probably like in his early 60s or something. And I'm thinking, what the fuck is this? And I go, "Do you want me to turn up? Do you want me to play something faster? Like, I don't know. Show me who you are." And he turns back around. And the owner was there. So here's the funny story. So the owner, I had just negotiated an increase in what he was going to pay me moving forward. And I don't think he's actually ever seen me play before. But he's going based off of feedback that he's heard from previous times I've been there when the band's been there. This is the first time he was actually there when I was playing, and I get heckled 3 songs in. So he walks over to the guy and he goes, hey, man, we got a problem here? You know, I hear him as I'm playing, and I'm like, oh, man, shit's about to go down, you know? And then the guy just kind of waved his hand, and he was like, he said something, and then they kind of separated. And then eventually the heckler leaves, right? And I'm like, thank God. Like, I don't need that shit. As an artist, I'm already super critical of myself. Like, I don't need that. Because, like, I can deal with heckling if it's kind of done in a jovial spirit. You know what I mean? Like, people are like, play Freebird or play something I know, you know, stuff like that. And they're laughing, they're having a good time. And then I can give it back and we can all laugh together. You know what I mean? I can do that. But this guy was, like, angry. And so he leaves. And after my first set, I go and I talk to the owner, right? The guy who booked me. And I'm like, hey, man, we gotta have a conversation. I go, do you know what that was about? And he goes, man, I don't know. I was like, is that guy like shit-faced or something? He goes, no, I've seen him before. He's a local accordion player. And I'm like, okay, that's not what I expected to hear here. And he goes, yeah, if you go through Edinburgh, you'll see him on benches, like playing accordion once in a while. And he goes, yeah, you actually tried to have me book him here in October for an accordion set. And he just laughed, and he goes, I'm not booking a dude playing accordion here. It's like, people would not like that, you know? And I'm like, yeah. I was like, what did he say? Like, what he was getting at? And he goes, yeah, he said that you hadn't played a good song yet. And I was like, okay, well, I can get that my music isn't for everybody. You know, I'm big enough to realize that and get that. You know, that's fine. If you don't like it, go somewhere else. I'm here for the next 3 hours. They're paying me to be here. You know, and it's fine if you even tell me, but, like, don't cause a scene. You know what I mean? We can have a cool conversation about it in between sets, whatever. But, you know, don't be disruptive. That's not cool. So the guy leaves and talked to the owner, and he's cool. Anyways, my third set, things are picking up a little bit. In walks Heckler. He comes back. Heckler comes back. And he sits in my field of view. He's at as far away as he can be from me where I can still see him. And he sits on this bar stool, LJ, and he's just leaning forward, just staring at me the whole time. And he's not clapping between songs. And I'm like, dude, this is super uncomfortable. I didn't say anything, but I'm thinking, like, if this guy, like, pulls out a weapon or something, it is on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know who this guy is. I don't know what his intentions are. But I could tell he was angry last time. So anyways, I was like, well, I'm going to try something different. So I play American Girl by Tom Petty. And he scoots forward a little bit, sits back at the bar. Now he's getting closer. And as soon as the song's over, he gets up, he walks over by the stage, and he looks at me, LJ, and he goes, as far as I'm concerned, you only played one song tonight. And he walked out. And I was like, wow. Like, I was like, what is this? You know? But it actually made me feel kind of good because I actually, while he was there, I actually covered a John Moreland song, who's my favorite artist. And it's a fantastic song. I played it well. And that wasn't even good enough for him. It was the Tom Petty song that was the one. That was the one real song I played. So, I don't know. So, there's just shitty people out there. But that was an interesting experience that I had. Yeah, so weird, though. I'm used to getting... I got heckled in Trenton, New Jersey once. But by the end of the night, me and the dude were like friends. Usually I can handle those situations. But this guy was just a whole different level pissed off about it. And I don't understand, you know. I think we're just in such a crazy time that, like, you know, it seemed like he was looking for an argument or a fight. You know what I mean? Like, he was by himself, so it wasn't like he was with friends. He was out there by his own. It's just weird. It's a weird take on things. You know what I mean? Like, what's your opinion of that? Like, what the heck?
He just wanted a collab. He wants to hop up there with his accordion, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think he was a little jealous that I had stage time and he didn't. But, yeah, again, I didn't really say anything to him. I just let him walk out. But, man, sometimes you got to rise above those occasions, you know what I mean? And just, you know, not give them what they want. And
yep, exactly. Just brush it off.
Yeah, that's what I did. But it did stick with me for, like, a day afterwards, just thinking, like, what kind of approach is that? Like, that's such a weird approach, man. Other than that, my weekend's been good. Your weekend's been okay?
Yeah, good so far.
Good.
Just did a lot of stuff with the fam. Went to like our children's museum, got some stuff done around the house. So yeah, can't complain.
Good, man. Happy to hear it. Super happy to hear it. And then I will apologize to the listeners that we're a little late on the podcast. We're recording this on Tuesday, and LJ again was asked last minute to hop in. Jake and I didn't even consider the pod. It's one of those things. It was like I have a priority list. It's like concert, family. Oh crap, we got podcast. Okay, how do I make this happen? Jake, are you? Oh wait, Jake's gonna be gone for a couple days. And he's like, dude, just find a fill-in if you can, or we can just wait until next week. But because we have patrons, I wanted to put something out there. You know what I mean? And you, yourself included, LJ, you're a patron of the show, so thank you very much. We need to revoke your patronage and just make you an official whatever you co-host. You know what I mean? And fill-in, or maybe even start bringing you in or something. I'll talk to Jake about it for sure. But I was joking with you, and I said we need to give you a T-shirt. It's like whatever. It's some sort of official.
I'm happy to be a patron.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Some sort of official co-host T-shirt, some sort of bragging rights. We got to give you some flair, but it is definitely appreciated. So thanks to you, we're able to do the podcast this week, even though it's a day late, couple days late. We'll get it up for you, and I'm gonna stay up tonight and make sure it gets published so the listeners will have this one Wednesday. So let's talk about some games we're playing. Let's get into some PlayStation talk, LJ, and. The only thing that I'm going to reserve for next episode was because Jake and I had been trying to play Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 as part of our series where we're just playing one of the free games on the PlayStation Plus, and then talking about at the end of the month. That is one of the games that I'm playing. We're going to wait until Jake returns to have a conversation about that. But I also jumped into Helldivers a little bit. All the talk about the last episode about the Helldivers 2 leak, and then also did some GTA 5 Online. And both those games, sorry about that. I thought my phone was muted. Both those games are actually we played together, man. So my experience with Helldivers was a little bit longer than yours probably because I've played it before, but then I've been actively back in that game playing it. And GTA 5 Online, though, my only experience with that since the last episode is the stuff that you and I did. So I am very tempted because we have a holiday weekend to get my PS Plus Extra buy up and then play Stray this weekend. If I can find some time, I want to get Stray in there, and then I might dive into a little bit of Returnal or something. But Rollerdrome has caught my eye, and Call of the Lamb, just based on all the fantastic reviews it's getting, has my interest peaked a little bit. I don't think I'll probably buy it, but I'm interested in those. How about yourself, LJ? What are you playing?
Yeah, I mean, besides the games that we played together, which were a blast, that was my first experience with Helldivers, and really enjoyed it. I'm tempted to pick it up, but I'm not. I'm going to hold off a little bit longer. I think it's cool how I can do co-ops. That'd be good for my fam. But yeah, just outside of those, I did try Multiverse versus a few times, and I'm kind of like you and Jake, not a big fighting game guy.
Yeah.
Likewise, I haven't played really since Street Fighter 2 on Super Nintendo or whatever. But I actually had a little bit of fun. I think I'll probably dip back into it here and there. It seems like a really well-made game.
Yeah.
Which is especially hard for those fighter type games, just because Smash Bros has really set the bar so high.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems to be getting a lot of love. And then I jump into Fall Guys here and there. I still enjoy that quite a bit, and it's just one of those games I can pick up and play. I have been itching to get back into the story driven games. I still need to finish up Guardians, so I might try to do that this weekend.
Yeah, I think that's a strong call. That's another game I want to dive into is the Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Is that free on Extra? I think it is, isn't it?
I believe so. I bought it. I haven't upgraded yet my tier, but fantastic game.
Yeah, fantastic from what I've heard. Jake is saying praises. He says the story's better than the movie. So he talks about that in the last episode. I did want to note too, real quick. I don't know what happened, but our video last week had an incredible amount of views. Our incredible comparatively. Usually our YouTube videos get so little views, right? We're talking like in the teens. We don't get a lot of views on it. And I've been trying to make that change, and the timestamp. So anytime someone recommends something on the YouTube channel, I try to rope them in. But our last episode has over like 60 views, and I think that shows some growth, but it also shows maybe my ignorance with how I've been handling YouTube. So the title of our last episode was just Helldivers 2 leaked. That was it. And I think that, like, if you make the title of your thing something that somebody's just going to search for, not be witty with the title, you're probably going to get more attention. So for moving forward, I'm going to be very just on the nose with the titles of our podcast episodes instead of trying to be cutesy and fun. So FYI, I think that's going to help the podcast in the long run. It's definitely going to attract more people to listen, I think. So moving forward, that's what I'm going to do. But yeah, let's talk about the news, shall we? It is been a crazy amount of news points, and I just can't believe the amount of things to talk about. And it's hilarious because this is another important episode, and Jake's totally missing out on it. And well, his loss. There's lots of opinions here that we're gonna have. First being that PlayStation acquired a new studio. The first studio is called Savage Studio. The first news point, Savage Studios. Apparently, this is their PlayStation's attempt to focus on mobile gaming. Push Square had a really nice article up on their website, and I went to it, and I think it said, I'm not going to really look. It also referenced the PlayStation blog. I think the PlayStation blog, sorry, that's where I went. The Push Square article indicated that it was found on the PlayStation blog, and I can kind of read this real quick. So the co-founder of Savage Game Studios, Mikhail Katkoff, indicates this, and this is all transcribed, but it's on the PlayStation blog. It says, "Thanks, Herman, and hello everyone in the PlayStation community, established in 2020 and led by myself and fellow co-founders." Names two names that I'm not going to try to pronounce. Savage Game Studios was born of our many years of mobile game development experience, spanning a number of massively successful global IP. Our guiding vision was a creative space where experimentation and taking risks weren't warily avoided, but rather eagerly embraced. We've all worked at big studios, and while we respect the advantage of ample resources, we wanted to stay small and nimble so we could call our own shots. So why then, you may be thinking to yourself, would you join PlayStation Studios? Well, we made this deal because we believe that PlayStation Studios leadership respects our vision for how we can best operate and succeed, and because they too are not afraid to take chances. All of that, plus the ability to potentially tap into PlayStation's amazing catalog of IP, and the fact that we will benefit from the kind of support that only they can provide. The harder question to answer would be, why not? On behalf of everybody at Savage Game Studios, thank you for having us. We can't wait to show you what we've been working on. So it looks like this is going to be really just mobile gaming. Mobile gaming has been like a huge thing. I'd say the majority of video games played in our country are mobile games. I would say with, a lot of people doing iPhone games and all that stuff. And I don't know that I would qualify. Maybe I would, like the Switch as a mobile device. I don't know. That's more of a handheld thing. It's mobile for sure. But I think when we're talking mobile gaming, I think we're kind of just specifically talking about phone games at this point. Would you agree with that? Or do you think that encapsulates other systems?
I agree with you. I think it's exactly that. I think they're really just trying to diversify, and try to bring in more people. I looked it up before the show. One resource said that last year in 2021, the mobile gaming industry was $120 billion last year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So I think they're trying to tap into not only that money, but bring people into PlayStation. I think that's why you see, PlayStation only games go into PC and everything, because they want to suck people in, which, is great. More people that come to it, fantastic. But we can't romanticize it. At the end of the day, these people, at the top, their intentions are money driven. So
yeah,
it makes sense. I think it's a good thing, though. To bring in more players and stuff.
Yeah, you got to be out there to get noticed. You know what I mean? And to have people pay attention to what you're doing. So one of the things on the PlayStation blog they said that Savage, the studio there, they're already working on a new unannounced AAA mobile live service action game. It's too early to reveal anything more, but they're excited for when they come back and make that. Savage Game Studios, that is, when they come back. And PlayStation, on the PlayStation blog, it says our mobile gaming efforts will be similarly additive, providing more ways for more people to engage with our content and striving to reach new audiences, kind of like you were saying, LJ. Unfamiliar with PlayStation and our games, Savage Game Studios is joining a newly created PlayStation Studios mobile division, which will operate independently from the console development and focus on innovative, on-the-go experiences based on new and existing PlayStation IP. So it makes you wonder, like, are we going to get, like, Horizon Bejeweled? Are we going to get, like, Uncharted? I don't know. Like, they tried an Uncharted card game a while back, but I mean, like, you know, stuff like Gwent by CD Projekt Red, for a while, I think was a mobile game that, in fact, I think it is widely a mobile game. So could we get these really crazy Magic the Gathering type games where the characters and the environments and the different cards are all PlayStation centered characters and units? And that would be kind of interesting, really, if they did something wild like that. We know Genshin Impact started off as a mobile game, and that game is just doing gangbusters. It's doing so well. And it's hard to believe that anyone would even want to play that on a phone, but you can, and that's where it's got its legs. So, what a cool little news story. And you know, I don't really have any opinion outside the fact that, like, you can't succeed in something unless you try. You know what I mean? So, and if they feel they have the capital or whatever to get this studio under their wing and try to do something different and reach out to people, then why not? You know what I mean? It's a smart business move, especially with all the money that Microsoft has. They gotta stay pivoting and moving in this ever-changing atmosphere, I think. So I don't know. Mm-hmm. That's where I'm at on it. And the next news point I have here is Hangar 13, the studio behind the Mafia games, have confirmed a new Mafia game is in development. The head of the studio indicated it's a long ways off, and actually a few years or so, but the franchise has not fallen. So all the Mafia fans out there can rest easy now. They did that crazy remake of, I think, 1 and 2 or something. They did a remake for Mafia. I can't remember which ones it was. Do you remember what that was? I can look it up. It's like the definitive edition.
Yeah, I think it was the original one.
Okay. Let me see. Video game.
Yeah, I've never played a Mafia game. I've heard really good things.
Yeah.
But just never jumped into it. Which ones have you played?
I've done I think Mafia 3 was the one where you're returning Vietnam vet, I believe. And I've played the first one a long time ago. It says that Mafia Definitive Edition on IMDb and Steam are, 96% of Google users like the game. It was released in 2020. The re-release, Hangar 13 did it. It was published by 2K Games. It has a 9 out of 10 on Steam and an 8.3 out of 10 on IMDb. Now, I don't know what the... so it's called Mafia Definitive Edition. And I'm trying to see... I think you're right. I think it is just the first one.
Yeah, I looked it up. It is the original.
Yeah. So, interesting. So, I played Mafia 3 and 1. I don't know if I ever played the second one. But I'll tell you what, like, they're on to something with this. And, I just don't like seeing franchises die in the video game world. I don't mind if they take a nice little siesta for a while and come back. But, I don't know. I'm kind of conflicted because if it's not working and it sucks, then I don't mind. But if it's something that has a little teeth and has promise, something that has a little bit of hope to it and, like, people generally like it, and it just needs a little bit of a reboot, they kind of like what they did with Tomb Raider. I kind of like how they handled Tomb Raider. I know diehard fans aren't really excited about the new ones. I liked them. But I think Mafia, I think there's a lot of unexplored story with the Mafia series, for sure. I don't know. Yeah. So good on that, Hangar 13. And so, like I said, if you're a Mafia fan, I'd like to hear actually who all played these games, because I don't know. I don't personally know anybody who's like, yeah, man, I fucking love Mafia. Give me that Mafia. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know it like that, but the games haven't really ever sucked. I think the third one became a little too rinse and repeat for me, and I think I talked about it on one of the shows when I was playing it. It was just seemed a little like, okay, I get it. I got to go do this. Now I got to go do that. Now I got to do this. Now I can fight the bad guy in this area. But it was fun. It was fun. Next news point. This is a big deal. I don't know that it's actually going to affect me. But Sony, well, it might affect our podcast, as you well know now, LJ, because we're doing everything on Discord now with our video chat and stuff, and recording the audio that way. Sony's going to be integrating Discord completely into the PS5. I don't know if PS4 is included in this or not, but in the next couple months. And the only thing that I use Discord for is to record the podcast with Jake and with you. But I do have another Discord that I'm part of now that I think about it. So, like, even though I'm trying to stay disconnected from Discord because I don't really fully understand how it works, I have the app on my computer. I have the app on my phone. That game book series I've talked about, that Lone Wolf series, has its own Discord. And then the company who released Hero Quest, re-released it, Avalon Hill, they have a Discord. So I've gotten invites to be a part of those Discords, and I've taken them up on it. But just because I'm not sure that I'm going to use it on my PS5, it doesn't mean that I won't be able to find a use for it down the road. And maybe it'll somehow make our podcast easier or something. You know what I mean? Who knows? Maybe sharing content or we have a little Discord. PS is awesome, but it's just my account. I didn't invite anybody. It just exists. I'm trying to manifest a huge audience so that we can open up a Discord. But yeah, man, I don't know. Any opinions on this, LJ? This is a really big deal, I think, because a lot of gamers use Discord.
Absolutely, this is a huge deal. Yeah, personally, I've used Discord for many years. I have some buddies. We all live in different states now, and that's what we use when we play online board games. But in the past month or so, I've actually been using it more to keep up with different bands I listen to have them.
Wow.
And so it's cool to talk to other people about that. But no, I think this is a must for PlayStation and really just video games in general, because there's more and more cross-play, right?
Yeah.
So we need more ways to be able to communicate when we're playing games with, if you're playing with your cousin who has an Xbox,
Mm-hmm.
you can't right now natively talk to them.
Cross chat doesn't exist. Yeah.
Right. But if Discord's there, you can just jump right in, PC, Xbox, whatever, and PlayStation, and just, chat away. So this is massive.
Yeah, that's interesting. So it looks, yeah, the article on Push Square, I wish I knew more about Discord to be able to speak on this, but I understand that, yeah, with the ability to chat, that would be huge. It's indicating here that, let me see here, Tom Henderson was an ex-Pewter reporter, and he apparently previously gave us the heads up on the DualSense Edge controller, which we're going to be talking about later. Indicated that quality assurance with this integration is going really well, and it's looking like it's really gonna happen pretty soon. And let me see here. PlayStation made a big deal of its. This is straight from the Push Square article. PlayStation made a big deal of its partnership with Discord last year, but outside of some very minor hooks, allowing you to display which PS5 games you're currently playing on the app, where you get to see the fruits of its labor. And then in parentheses, it says, this is from Jim Ryan, our goal is to bring the Discord and PlayStation experiences closer together on console and mobile starting early next year, allowing friends, groups, and communities to hang out, have fun, and communicate more easily while playing games together. The communication thing is the key. I don't think that people really care about showing what game they're playing on their Discord avatar or whatever, their account. I think really what people want to be able to do is have those, build those relationships with people who they're gaming with now, that some of these games allow us to cross game with different consoles, being able to bridge that chasm of between consoles. And I think it's good. I think this is a good initiative, and I'm happy for PlayStation. Now, do you know if Xbox allows this as well?
Yeah, in fact, I believe Xbox already has Discord incorporated into it. I mean, it's a more recent thing. I don't think it was since launch, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think it has that function.
Good. Then that makes complete sense. All right. So moving forward, next news point: Resident Evil on Netflix. We know they had a Netflix show. It's getting the axe already. It's getting infected, and it's not coming back. They're not getting renewed for a second series, which only means to me that now I'm not beholden to watch this thing. Which is nice, because this only happened to me with one other show I was actually interested in, and it was Luke Cage, and that was the the whole Jessica Jones, Daredevil, all that stuff they were doing, Punisher. They had all these different Marvel spin-off movies, and Luke Cage was one of them. And I'd watched them all, and then I was halfway through Luke Cage when the news hit that it wasn't getting renewed for another season, and I was just like, I'm not even finishing this thing. Like, there was no point, you know what I mean? No point to waste my time. I think it would have been another 6 hours of my life just gone. So it's a shame that this happens, but there's probably a reason here. I don't think the Resident Evil show on Netflix did very well. I think it was kind of a joke, to be honest, from what I've read. Did you even try to watch this or anything?
I didn't know, but I guess it's one of the worst rated Netflix shows of all time. Like, that's how bad it was.
It probably got review
It's pretty
bombed.
terrible.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. The video game players can be pretty toxic at times. They might have just review bombed the shit out of it because they didn't like it.
Potentially. I mean, at the same time, I think a lot of times, these movie or TV studios will just slap an IP on something and hope that that's going to carry it through. And it's like, that's not how it works. Like, I don't care what IP and
Right.
or how beloved it is. You have to still have good acting, especially good writing. It has to be quality stuff. I mean, just look at Game of Thrones, amazing story. They put a lot of money in, the production was good. And then when the writers got lazy at the end, the last few seasons, I mean, no one really talks about Game of Thrones. Like, now that there's the prequel out, but I mean, that was everyone talked about that for so long. So yeah, you have to have good writing and stuff. And just because it says Resident Evil doesn't mean it's going to be a success.
It's not an instant win. Yeah. There's no instant coffee here with them. Oh man, that's a valid point. I can appreciate that input for sure. Next news point. This is a big one. This is a huge one. Well, actually, no, this one isn't. But the one after this one is the Twisted Metal TV series has finished filming. So maybe that's big news to somebody. I say let's see let's see a trailer or something. Let's give us a teaser. Let me see what the vibe is of this. We'll probably get one pretty soon. Any opinions on that, LJ? Twisted Metal TV series?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really cool. I love Twisted Metal. I think I mentioned this on the last podcast, but I was a PlayStation gamer, stopped for several decades, and now I'm back into it. And back when I had my PS1 and PS2, Twisted Metal 1 through 4 was some of my most played games. So I mean, I'm excited in that sense, but also I realize, hey, this could be a shit show. Like, it could be terribly written, or so I'm trying not to get my hopes up again, because just because it's Twisted Metal doesn't mean it's going to be awesome. But I do think I did look up the cast. The cast is pretty freaking solid. They have brought in a lot of big names,
Really?
which I think's awesome. Yeah, I think Falcon from Marvel's in there.
Oh, goodness.
Samoa Joe's in there. A few other people. I'm bad at names of what movies, but I recognize their faces. But again, it's just like the Resident Evil thing. Basically the show's writing has to be good, and Twisted Metal, the Twisted Metal skin on it has to be just icing on the cake. You know what I mean? It can't be the other way around.
Right.
So
yeah, I think that I was talking to this person at work today, and she said that she had initially gone to school her minor was in history, right? And I had been given this, my father sent me a text message, and it was just like a little quip from, here, let me see if I can pull it up, from a Civil War soldier. It was a love letter back home, right? And I'm looking at this, And let me find it here because this is, I mean, you guys know no one writes like this anymore. So this is what he sent me, and he said, look at the way they used to write back. He's kind of a history buff too, but this letter says, Sarah, my love for you is deathless. It seems to blind me with mighty cables that nothing but omnipotence could break. Yet my love of country comes over me like a strong wind and bears me irresistibly on with all these chains to the battlefield. And then it says, if I do not return, my dear Sarah, never forget how much I love you. And when my last breath escapes me, it will whisper your name. and I'm like, dude, like, we don't write like this. Is like someone penned a letter to somebody, and that's what that's how they were writing one. It's like, that's poetry. That's straight up poetry. You know what I mean? And so then I asked him, and I said, there's no way. There's no way that everyone in the Civil War days wrote like that. But when you watch the Ken Burns, this is a digression, but this is good. But when you watch this Ken Burns Civil War, all the voiceover is eloquent like that. And it's like, on the eve of blah, 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 I woke up to the sound of gunshots. You know, and it's like, shall I not return to you, dear Bethany? You know, make sure you put the horses away each evening and dream of me. You know, stuff like that. You know, so, right. But it's like, but then so then I started looking into it, and there were definitely people who were not educated who fought in that war. I would say probably the majority of people that were in that war that fought were not educated enough to write letters like that. But this is the way that we romanticize war, and this is the way that we look back at these things. We're like, oh, wow, it is super cool, right, to hear the way the prose and the way that people spoke and wrote back then. Very, very interesting, different than how we do now. I would say better than how we do now, 100%. But there's a whole nother side to all of this that we don't ever really, the veil doesn't really lift, right? So I was talking to this lady at work, back to what you were talking about, and I go, you know, what is it about history that you really like? And she goes, honestly, I think at the end of the day, it's the love of story. And I'm like, that's very well put. And I think that is my affinity as well towards everything: songwriting, reading, TV shows, gaming even. It's not the actual playing and the gameplay. Honestly, for me, like, I really think it's the love of a good story. That's why I love Red Dead Redemption. That's why I love The Last of Us. That's why I like Uncharted. It's the characters, the writing. The adventure you're going on with these people, right? The Witcher, fantastic. Now, I can appreciate a game that's a little more slapsticky, right? Like, obviously, like Strider, for instance. I love that. We talked about Helldivers. There's no real good story there. I like some of that stuff. But if you really, really want me all in on whatever you're doing, the writing's got to be there. And you got to take me on a good story. Whether it's comedy, horror, like a drama, some sort of love story, whatever it is, you better be pulling that string more than 100% for me, because if you don't, someone else is gonna, right? So you have to win me over that way. And I think you're right with the Twisted Metal thing. Like, you can have all the actors, you can have all of the, you can have the name, the IP, you can have the best cinematographers, you can have the best studio behind it, the best director, but if you don't have anything else, it just feels empty and it ain't gonna work. So I'm curious to see what they're doing with Twisted Metal, man. I hope it's like a Borderlands vibe.
That'd be pretty cool.
Like,
well, and remember, yeah, I think it is supposed to have a lot of comedic elements to it. But I mean, and also too, like, Jake had a good point on the last show where he talked about, like, you know, in video games, there's more time than a movie to, you know, develop characters and tell the story. And that's also true of TV. So they have that going for them.
Right.
But we also live in, you know, I'm not a huge, like, media, like, movie TV guy, but I think we still live in the golden age of TV. Like if you ask most people, like what are some of the best shows ever made? It's stuff from the last 10 or 15 years. So they're, you know, the bar has been set pretty high. Like you're adding to a noise that's already pretty top quality. So it's got to be damn good with a damn good story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You
100%.
can't just be like, oh, Resident Evil, oh, Uncharted, oh, whatever. Like, and that story can carry through. Like, would you say, Cyberpunk, right? All the bugs and stuff, but was the story pretty good? Was that one of the things that kept you going through that game despite all of the bullshit that you had to deal
Yeah,
with
I think
along
the
way?
agency you have in that game, feeling like you're part of that world, right? So like the level of immersion in that game is what kind of kept me into it. Maybe not the full story, so to speak, but the ability to hop into these minor side quests and stories that just they were interesting enough to be like, oh wow, yeah, let's see what we can get into today. You know what I mean? Like let's hit the streets again. Let's cause some trouble. Let's go. Maybe try to help somebody. Let's get a couple missions going. And it was interesting, interesting enough. And I think the thing that Cyberpunk has over a game like Grand Theft Auto would be that the environment just is more attractive to me, right? It's a little more science fiction. It's a little more interesting to me than like here you are in modern day city or in a city in 1990 or 1980 or 70 or whatever. Like it's like, okay, this isn't a huge leap for my imagination, but being immersed in a world where you have flying cars and all these tech weapons, but like you're in it, and it feels like if you can suspend your disbelief a little bit and get involved in a world like that, it's really fun. That's it for me. That's interesting. That's also why I like the Red Dead games so much, because you're back in the West. It's something I can't experience in real life. You know what I mean? It's I think there's always some sort of an attraction with games like that. Now I do like Grand Theft Auto, obviously 5. I've been playing it a bit, but I think I like that just as mainly just because the loop is fun, the gameplay loop's fun, but also it's a really enjoyable game to play with friends, and it's a game where you can measure your progress. And it feels like, in that regard, I am living a life I can't live, because I can never be a tycoon. I can't just hop in a helicopter and fly around like Los Angeles. You know what I mean? I can't parachute off a building and kill myself on accident, which is what happened when we played that mission earlier. But yeah, man, so that's a great question. How about you, man? Like what kind of, what is attracting you to games these days? I mean, I know you have a family, you have kids in the house, so you have to kind of be careful about what you're probably putting on the screen while they're up. But like, what are the things you take into consideration when you're picking out a game?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, a lot of things very similar, like immersion, the beauty of it, right? Because again, I stepped away for so long, and I come back and I'm like, holy shit! Like these graphics are incredible and stuff. Like Horizon and Ghost of Tsushima and stuff are just beautiful. But I mean, also like I think that's ultimately why I'm a PlayStation guy. All of them have their own benefits and stuff. I'm not like an anti-Microsoft guy or whatever, but Sony just kills it with stories. Like the stories are so good. And then on top of that, they're busting out these beautiful games that are just so immersive and stuff. So story is definitely a big part of it. And the same goes for TV shows. It's like, if these things have good stories, I'll be gripped in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially like the Twisted Metal one, because I have that nostalgia vibe linked to it. Excuse me. But yeah, story is a top priority for me.
Very
that
good.
Sucks me in.
Yeah. I think a lot of people would agree with you and I on that. Especially the older you get, the more important that is. I think the older you get, the more you appreciate connection with characters and stories. And like, you don't, I shouldn't say, I was gonna say, you don't usually see like a lot of teenagers reading for the fun of it. Usually they're reading because it's an assignment or something, right? I've started picking up more and more books the older I get. You know what I mean? It's because I'm still reaching for those good stories. I just enjoy it. Enjoy it. There's a lot of lessons can be learned. I think you can get an education from experiencing other people's trauma through story, like Joel and Ellie, and like, what mistakes not to make, what what's important at the end of the day. Those kind of stories are really nice. It's I find that stories that are really that pull at your heartstrings, they help you reset your perspective a little bit. I think we live in a world, a lot of us live in a world where we take so much for granted, and then to read like a harrowing experience, like like right now I'm reading a book by Cormac McCarthy called All the Pretty Horses. It's the first book in a trilogy called the Border Trilogy. I've read them before, and I don't know at what point. I think it's in the second or third book, but these guys get locked up in a Mexican prison, and it is not good the way it's written about. And then when they get out, just as the reader, just the deep breaths you take, you're like, oh my God, finally I'm done reading this part. You know what I mean? Like, it was getting a lot for me to read, like what they were going through. Like, you almost don't want to read it because you don't want the things to happen to them. You know what I mean? Like, you just like, I don't, if I don't read it, it's not happening because it's not real. But when they finally get out or get through that, then you kind of have this weird connection with these characters that aren't even real. And that's what good writing does. And it offers a different perspective on things that maybe we otherwise couldn't achieve on our own. Or if we did, it would require a lot more work than just picking up a book. Anyways, we'll move forward here. Next news point. That was a nice little segue. I appreciate that conversation for sure. I can always talk about writing. This is the big one. This is the big one I want to talk about. The DualSense Edge has been announced. Let me preface this news story with, I have two PS5 controllers. The one that came with my PS5, something's up with it. The thumbstick's not working. The trigger's weird or something. If I turn my PS5 on with my original controller, I have a passcode to get into it. My PS5, I have it password locked. It'll and it times me out. And then it's like, oh, now you got to open the app and verify it's really you. And then you got to do this and that. So, dude, having a controller that doesn't break is so important. Like, also what is really important is battery life. So my other controller, that I got, the black one, is the only controller I can use. I own two, and I can only use one because the other one's just garbage now. And I want to throw it out, but it just sits on the shelf. Like, I can't use it. It's got a charge, but I don't know. So anyways, DualSense Edge. I pulled up, and I'm referencing the Push Square article on this because there's a lot to know about it. There's a lot of things we don't know. So let's go into what we don't know first. We don't know what it's going to cost. We don't know when it's going to come out. And I think that, what else don't we know about? There's something else I don't think that they've been upfront about. I think that's mainly it, really, honestly. The two important things about it are the things that we don't know. How much is it, and when's it releasing? Those are the big ones. Everything that the DualSense Edge is coming with. Now, this is a quote unquote pro controller, and I don't know. So it's supposed to contain the controller, a braided USB cable, 2 standard stick caps, 2 high dome stick caps, 2 low dome stick caps, 2 half dome back buttons, 2 lever back buttons, a connector housing, and a carrying case. Here's the thing that drives me crazy. I would imagine this controller is going to cost upwards of $200, I would guess. For multiple reasons. Number one is you can always reduce the price of something, and we'll get to the next news point, but you rarely increase the price of something once it's released. And knowing that, and this is a news point we're going to get to, that they just increased the price of PlayStation 5, which we're going to talk about in the next news point. They don't want to release a controller out of the gates and then have to raise the price on it in a year, right? So you start a little higher, and you try to mitigate any kind of losses from trying this new thing. This is the first time, I think, ever that Sony has released a pro controller themselves. They may have licensed stuff to other companies to do stuff, to use their logo or whatever, but I think this is the first one that they are officially releasing themselves. So when we talk about stick modules, we talk about lever back buttons, stick caps, all of those things. The interesting thing about this is the issue I'm having with my controller right now, I don't think can be fixed by finding a PlayStation 5, because I guess what they're saying is that once you buy this controller, it's possible that they may open a store where you can get additional pieces to replace the broken pieces, or if you want to replace your triggers, right? Like, you can probably do that. But they're probably only going, this is all speculation, going to be compatible with this DualSense Edge controller. I don't know that you're going to be able to go onto Sony's website, order a thumbstick for your current PlayStation controller, which isn't really meant to be taken apart, and replace it, right? This controller seems to be the opposite of that. It seems to be like it's going to be customizable. You had mentioned before, I think, LJ, that you were interested in something like this. Is that right?
Yeah, I would definitely be interested in this. I mean, I was going to ask you what price point you were thinking, and that's my exact guess. I think it's going to be $200 just because of what we'll get into later, and just the way inflation is affecting things. It's just, yeah. And it does come with a decent amount of stuff. I mean, all those caps and stuff like that. I would definitely be interested in this. Again, as a father, it's kind of crazy because we have 3 controllers and none of them I have had issues with yet. And I mean, my 2-year-old plays with them sometimes. So, and they're always just like throwing them down and stuff like that. I'm surprised they have lasted. But yeah, if this would be something where it's like, okay, this is dad, so we're going to put this up, and that's going to be my controller, and you 3, you kids can fight over the 3 that are left. Another question that I have with it is, like, obviously it's customizable, and it's nice because, like, if you have drifting, maybe you can just replace the stick and you don't have to buy a whole new controller. I also like that from like a reuse kind of perspective. But is it like built better? You know what I mean? Like, is it actually right. more durable, or is it just a modular controller? Because, I would hope if I'm paying $200, it's like more than just customizable, but that it's actually like more durable.
Like the parts are better parts, right?
Right. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about that.
Yeah, I don't think anyone knows that yet. And I think we're bound to see, because I'm sure Digital Foundry or somebody's going to do a teardown of this thing as soon as it comes out. And they're going to do a compare and contrast video between the existing controller, the DualSense, and then the DualSense Edge.
Yeah.
Man, it's interesting. Apparently, Microsoft has an Elite controller, and that's about $150, I believe, for that. But I don't know if this is Sony's response to that, or if this is Sony's response to the gamers' want for something like this, or if this is just Sony recognizing that the controllers that they released maybe don't have the quality of life that they expected them to have. I would imagine that the newer ones that are hitting the market, not the Edge, not this one, but like the newer DualSense controllers, probably have been upgraded a little bit here and there to prevent this drift issue that we've noticed. I don't know for certain, but I mean, it's no secret that the DualSense controllers have some issues, despite their awesome ergonomics. Despite the fact that they feel so nice in your hand, there's some major issues, at least with my stock controller. And I don't abuse my controllers at all. Like, all I've done is use them. And I don't overcharge them. I don't charge them when they don't need it. I don't drop them. I don't play them with dirty, grimy hands. They set up on a shelf when I'm not using them. And yeah, there's drifting and there's button issues with it already. And it's just like, I haven't had it much longer than a year, maybe a year and a half. I don't know how old the PS5 is at this point. But anyways, it's kind of wild to think about that. Write in and let us know, listeners, if you have an opinion on the DualSense Edge. I'm really curious to hear what your take is on what would you be willing to pay for the DualSense Edge? What is would you even pay for one, or would you just stick to the $70 DualSense controller, which I think they're $69.99 right now. I think for a regular controller, which is no drop in a bucket. I mean, that's some money. So,
do you think you'd get one of these?
I guess it depends on what you asked. Like, is it made better? Like, is the production of this controller a little more badass? You know what I mean? I'm not needy. Like, I'm more than happy with the DualSense controller. I don't need anything else than that. But if I can buy this controller and have the ability to fix it for $20, with a thumbstick breaks, or if a trigger breaks, maybe, maybe I would. Because I think on my PS4, I went through four controllers at $50 a piece. I think there were 50, 59, maybe there were 60. So that's over $200 in controllers. So if you can spend $150 and know that you can fix it for $20, it's almost a wash, really. If you look at the money, I mean, you're almost at a wash, but not at the price at $70 a controller, right? So 4 controllers at $70, $280. You buy one for $150, and you can speculating if you can get a part for $20, $25 to fix it. I mean, you're going to save money getting the DualSense Edge, maybe. But then you're always going to have a battery issue, probably. I mean, the battery eventually is not going to hold, right? You're going to, I don't know.
But even if the price is over that amount of time is almost the same, or it's just a little bit more for this, it's like, I'd rather, have a Cadillac than a Ford Focus. Right. You know what I mean? Like, right. So it's like, even if it's the same price, I also am having a Cadillac. I don't know if it's like that, but durability wise, if I know this is going to last me maybe the rest of the life of the console, I'm definitely more tempted to get it. You know what I mean? Because you can replace it. It is going to last longer, and don't have to worry about stuff like that. But yeah, I'm definitely intrigued for sure. But it would be, it's one of those things where you're like, maybe ask for some money for your birthday or something like that to get it. Right. Not just going to go out on a Friday night and go get this
the wife asks, hey, what do you want for Christmas this year? If you want to fuel my gaming addiction, you can get me this $200 controller. I don't know how that would fly, but I hear you, man. Right. It's one of those things that I don't know that I would be completely comfortable paying for myself, but I would love to have it as a gift or have like $100 off or something. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Interesting. I don't know. Let's talk about the next one. This is one we have already kind of had a little foreshadowing here. So the PlayStation 5 is getting a price hike. And the interesting thing about this is I don't think that this has ever happened for PlayStation. I don't think they've ever released a console and then been like, oh, we're going to raise the price on it. I don't think that's ever happened. Usually they can justify doing something like this by re-releasing a console in a slim mode, but usually when they re-release a console, it's usually at the same price or a little cheaper because they've used different parts, right? So this is strange. I don't think that there's any one reason for this to happen. I think that maybe tariffs, cost of doing business, inflation, the economy, cost of transportation, the semiconductor issue, the cost of production, all of these things are wrapped into this decision. And I'm sure it's not a decision that they made lightly. This is a big decision, and you're only inevitably going to piss people off. There's no situation where you raise the price of your console that's already impossible to find. Like with all these people already selling it for more than what it's worth, and you're going to jack the price up as the maker of this thing, and think that people are going to be cool with it, right? So the decision to do this, no doubt, had probably been, I don't even know, ruminated on probably for months. They probably had to get through so many different gateposts of people saying, yes, this is probably what we need to do, looking at the trends, looking at the market, looking at this, looking at where we stand, looking at how much we're putting towards maybe even their spending. I don't know. But so let's get down to it. The increase is only affecting Europe, United Kingdom, Japan, China, and Canada at the moment. And it was immediately. It was like, by the way, we're raising the price. When? Now. So that happened. And there was an article on the PlayStation blog, and Jim Ryan indicated the hike was a response to high global inflation rates as well as adverse currency trends impacting consumers and creating pressure on many industries. Based on these challenging economic conditions, SIE has made the difficult decision to increase the recommended retail price. So that's just it. We are heading towards a possible recession here. I mean, the value of the dollar is actually kind of getting stronger right now, I think, because other countries are going through similar issues. This is worldwide. There's a lot of issues with the economy in this world right now. A lot of it brought on by COVID. A lot of it brought on by, I would just say, in general, supply and demand. There's a huge war going on right now. There's a lot of other things at play, and man, it's weird where we're heading, and we're not going to dive into that conversation. But the end result is that businesses need to protect themselves, and they need to do what they need to do to stay afloat. And they know what they're paying for a PlayStation 5 to be created, and they know what they're selling it for. My guess is that they were selling PlayStation 5s at a loss, hoping to make money on the software. And either they're not seeing the return on that because studios have been slowed down because of COVID, games are getting pushed back, that they're like, listen, we're taking too much of a loss on the PS5s right now. We need to do something to mitigate it. We got to raise the price. And they probably didn't do it in the US, would be my guess, is because we are buying PlayStation 5s here, and we are probably also consuming a ton of video games because I don't want to say we're privileged, but we are. We live in a country where we don't have to deal with a lot of shit. We do, but we don't comparatively. We're not getting attacked by Russia. We're not, knock on wood, we're not in a war. We're not facing, I just saw Pakistan, right? The floods, just 1,000 people were wiped out recently in a flood. And it's just like, holy shit, like the world is on fire. We've got it pretty okay right now in the US. And, we're still able to go home from work, and we're able to play our video games, and we're going to go in the PlayStation store, we're going to buy shit, and we're going to support Sony. And they're getting money from us. And I think that they know that if they raise the price of the PS5 here, it's going to cause a trickle-down effect, and they would rather sell the software here and take the loss on the PlayStations here. But I think elsewhere, it's a different story. LJ, what's your opinion?
It's weird times. I agree with everything you said. It's just super weird times. Like, when I was raised, you're always raised like, if you buy a brand new car, the second you drive it off the lot, it drops in value. And it's just like, that's not even true anymore. And like, imagine how many people said, oh, I'm just going to wait and get a PlayStation or a PS5, in a year or two, maybe when they're more available and the price drops. Yeah. And it's like, 2 years later, they're still pretty much impossible to find, and you're going to pay more. It's wild. But at the same time, like, I work in insurance, and, inflation is affecting that. And I have to remind people, like, inflation will affect like every aspect of our lives. Like, you go to the grocery store, you get your car fixed, whatever it is. So like, it's not crazy to think that it would also affect our hobbies, PlayStation, video games or whatever. And, I've seen people online comment about this, and where they're like, well, Nintendo's not doing this, or Microsoft's not doing this. And, I can't think of an example with Microsoft. I think it'll be interesting after this to see what they do. But like Nintendo, has, like, I don't see them raising it. They might after Sony moved the first chip, but at the same time, like a Switch game, 8 years down the line, you're going to pay the same prices like the day it came out. So like they do kind of similar things, just in a different manner. But, while I do understand the factors that they mentioned in the article, it's like, come on, Sony, you can take the hit. You know what I mean? Like, you can take this hit. So I just don't think it's necessary. I also don't think it bodes well for the controller price we just talked about. I don't think it bodes well for how much PSVR 2 is. After this, you ask me now, I'm probably going to raise how much I think it's going to cost. I mean, they just raised the games up to $70 a piece. I mean, this is not a new trend, something new for Sony.
Right.
They've been doing it a lot this console cycle. So yeah, I mean, I guess we're just, again, another reason we have privilege to be born and live in the States where this isn't actually going to affect us, at least for now.
Right.
Well, but
said.
who knows? Yeah, I'm sure there's listeners around the world who it is going to affect.
Yeah, it's really a shame, but I don't know how you get around something like this. I don't. And speaking of PlayStation availability, limited consoles being sold, I had an email from GameStop. I still get emails from them. I don't shop there or do anything there, but I like to have my ear to the ground and know what they're up to and what's going on. And I got an email from them. My brother's been actively looking for a PS5 for a long time, and they were like, "We're going to be getting a new supply of PS5s on such and such date. If you're a Pro Rewards member, they'll be made available to you first, and then the following day, if there are any remaining, they'll be made open to public." So I got a hold of my brother and I said, "Hey," and he goes, "Are you a Pro Rewards member?" I was like, "Fuck no, I'm not." And I'm like, "This is on you. You need to follow up with the local GameStop and just see." So he called them. They had a digital PS5 there, but they wanted $650 for the digital version. And I was like, "Seth, that's price gouging." And he told me he bought it, but what they forced him to do was buy the console for $400, but in order to sell it to him, he had to buy a $50 GameStop gift card to make it $450, and then he had to buy a $150 PSN online store gift card to bring it up to $600. So he was able to get the PS5 digital version for $400 or something, but then in order to buy it, they said they called it a bundle. Included with it were 2 gift cards that were mandatory to be included. So GameStop pulled an extra $50 out of his ass rather, for him buying it from them. So they took advantage of having the console. They made an extra $50 on top of anything they would have made on the sale of the unit. And then PlayStation, and I said, "Seth, honestly, you're going to use both those gift cards,
right?
You didn't lose out technically at all. Thankfully, you had the money, and now you have your PS5. And who's going to buy a PS5 and not buy games for it?" I said, $150 store credit would be awesome. Just to open your PlayStation store and be like, "Oh, you have $50 in there?" Like, once it's bought and paid for, then it's like, man, it'd be really tempting to buy a lot of shit, I think, But so the interesting thing is as soon as he booted it up, he's like, "Oh my God," he goes, it's not making noises. He goes, "It's so quiet," because he was using a PS4 that was like really, really old, and it sounded like a jet. It was like when it was on, it was right. I'd go over to his house and he'd be playing Genshin Impact. And I'd be like, "My God, dude, that thing's going to explode." Like I said, I have like the special security bit. I said, "I can open that up and clean it out for you. Let me do that." And he goes, "I'm going to get a PS5 eventually." And I'm like, "All right." A year later, I go back over. I'm like, "Dude, are you sure you don't want me to clean this out?" "Nah," he's like, "They are really hard to find. I'm going to find one." 3 months later, it's and like he said, he plugged on the PS5 and he couldn't hear it at all. He goes, "This is amazing." So yeah, good for him. I'm happy for him. But he did get kind of gouged.
Yeah.
He didn't really though. You know what I mean? But like, he got taken advantage of to a degree. But at the same time, would have I done what he did if I didn't have a PS5 at this point? Hell yeah, I would have. They're so hard to find.
Right, and that's why this price hike is going to have absolutely no effect on sales. It's not going to affect it at all. All it's going to cause is like a few extra grunts. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, it's really hard to say.
I mean,
yeah, I mean, you're right. You're right in that regard. And people are still going to buy this fucking thing, you know, because they're already paying hundreds of dollars more than what it's worth.
Right.
We didn't even indicate what the price hike was. Do you? I don't have it in front of me. Oh man, I wish I did. Well, while you're look that up.
It varies a little bit.
Yeah. Do you have it?
I
didn't put a link in the notes here. I meant to.
I do, but I found it on the PlayStation blog, but I don't think it has the old pricing, so I'm not sure how much it went up by.
Interesting. From what I recall, it wasn't like a crazy amount. It wasn't like, oh, now it's $150 more or anything. You know, I thought it was like
it's not much,
$50 or something, right? Like it wasn't like crazy.
If that, yeah. I think in some cases only like 20 or 25.
Yeah. Well, I'm
trying to find it, but
that's fine. And I was just going to say, that was going to tack onto this news piece real quick, is that there was a new model of the PS5 spotted in Australia. And most notably, it had a decrease in weight. This is my guess, most likely due to a different heatsink included with it. So I don't know. That heatsink is so heavy and huge. So I don't know what that's all about. But apparently there's another SKU, the PS5, surfacing here and there. Obviously, they're going to try to cut costs in making this thing, but still make it like legit. You know what I mean? So I don't know what's going to happen with that, but yeah, Australia, apparently someone had spotted one. If you can't find it, it's not a big deal, dude.
I can't. Yeah, I can just find the original one.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Listeners, look it up if you're curious. It's, you know, there's plenty of news articles out there about this stuff. Okay, so moving on.
Actually, I found some. It says in the UK, it's going up 6%. The highest hike, which this is pretty noticeable, in Japan, it's going up 21%. That's a decent amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is crazy. So for instance, if you were paying $400 for one, that would be another $84. So yeah, that is 20 some percent. It's quite a bit. Next news point. This is interesting. So I'm taking down the timestamp for our one YouTube follower. I'm kidding, I joke. Tokyo Game Show 2022 is going to feature a PSVR 2 on the showroom floor, and it will feature Resident Evil Village. And Tokyo Game Show 2022 is going to be taking place September 15th through September 18th. And dude, sign me fucking up, dude. I am so ready. Not only is it Resident Evil Village, but it's also the first hands-on for consumers to try out the PSVR 2. The more I see those wacky controllers, the hand controllers, man, I want it. I think I want it. And, I don't know what it's going to cost, though. We still don't have a price on this thing. We know, while we're talking about this, the PSVR 2, Sony indicated they're going to have an early 2023 release date for the system. So the two things we don't know about this, the dates we're going to release and how much. Same as the DualSense Edge. Same questions. How many are being made? How hard is it going to be to get? What games are going to release with it, right? I don't know. But sign me up, man. I want the PSVR 2. I'm ready for it. And there hasn't been enough VR stuff going on. And I think that they've probably made enough improvements to this, especially with the 4K screen and the haptics and the one cord. I've heard people argue that the cost of this might still hover around $300. I think that is wishful thinking. But the logic behind it is that because it's tethered to the system, that a lot of the components that make like the Valve and these other headsets so expensive is that, especially the wireless ones, you know what I mean? Is that they have to have all of the ingredients in the headset. Where if this is tethered, it's pulling on the power of the PS5, so maybe the cost to produce them is less, which is an interesting take. But I think, again, it's easier to put something on sale or chop money off of something after 6 months to a year. You know, I bet you it's $400 at the cheapest.
I would guess that or more. Yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, I could see it costing the same as the console, the 500. You know,
Dude, I'm still all in.
I hope not, but I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm still all.
Yeah, I
in.
think it's just.
I'm so excited just
right?
thinking about it right now.
Dude, I'm so hyped, and this is like, I mean, this is hands-on stuff. So we're literally a couple weeks away from getting, a ton of YouTube reviews. It's like, this is how this shit played out. Like, this is what it feels like, and just that's gonna be. It's going to be awesome. And it's just going to make me want it even more.
Right. All I got to say is this is, well enough now because you've used the PSVR, the first one, and I know well enough because I have a PSVR, that no matter what you say about it, it's nothing like putting the headset on and experiencing it. And that's true for any VR headset. So if the reviewers are like, oh, this is amazing, because that was not the initial response to the first VR. It was like, oh, this is a nice headset. This works. We're impressed with what Sony's done. You know what I mean? The big winning point for the original PSVR was how the headset fit on your head and how comfortable it was compared to all the other units out at that time, right? So they won instantly again on comfort and ergonomics. Seems like they have a really good R&D team when it comes to that kind of stuff. The new controllers feel great. But no one came out of like looking at the PSVR and were like, oh my God, you guys have to fucking do this. This is insane. I was like that because I'd never done VR. But I have used other headsets and they're all comparable to the VR. But we're talking game journalists, people who make a livelihood out of this thing, about talking about video games. They're going to go out and they're going to try this thing. If the resounding response is, this is the shit, then you know it's the shit, right? If it's like, oh yeah, this is comparable to this, that, or the other, then it's like, okay, it's going to be a nice upgrade from what we currently have for PlayStation, but maybe not all the bells and whistles that we're hoping, right? All like the craziness of how cool it could be. But setup alone, you won't need a dongle. From what I understand, you don't need a camera. And the new controllers just look fucking rad. So if this thing, if like I'm saying, like if what these people are gonna say in September, you're right, it's right around the corner. I can't wait to hear. I have read what I think are slightly biased opinions of it from developers who are working on games for the set, saying like, oh man, we can't wait for you guys to try this headset out. It's awesome. You know what I mean? Of course they're going to say they're making a game for it. But what will a critic say? Because we know they are the harshest. And they're going to be critical because that's their job. If they're excited, dude, it's more than enough for me. But if it's mixed responses, then maybe I'm a little less excited. But I want VR in my household, so this is the only option for me. So I'm going to get it regardless. But what's your opinion, man? Do you agree with that? Do you think what do you think the response is going to be?
Yeah, I agree with you. It's just like, of course Sony's going to be like, hey, this is fucking awesome. Here's all the cool shit. But it's just like, yeah, you want someone who's a critic to like get in there and kind of, give you that first taste of what it's going to be like. Now, like you said, you won't really know until you put it on, right? Until Fred puts it on, or LJ or whatever, Jake puts it on. But this is about as close as you can get. And so, and it's just like, we really don't know that much about it, I feel like. So I think this is going to be, just eye-opening. And I hope there's video of people using it. I want to see what they, are they actually having a good time? What do the controls play like? All that stuff.
I want to see
Yeah, I'm
people like
hyped as
falling
hell.
over.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right. Someone actually dies. They put the headset on. They're too scared. Playing Village, die of a heart attack. Oh shit! Yeah, it's interesting. It's really interesting, man. And well, you were like, well, obviously they're gonna say, that their thing is fucking awesome. Wouldn't it be so funny if their PR was like, we made this thing. We're not really sure if it's that good, but we'd like for you to buy it and try it out. We think it's something, but we're not sure. Like, what if that was like your promotion for your product? I feel like that's how I am when I'm on stage. Like, I wrote this new song. Not really just trying it out here today. Hope you guys dig it, And then I should be like, I wrote the best fucking song you ever hear. Here it is. Just you need that bravado, that confidence, right? When you're trying to sell something, for sure.
You got you would have won that guy over.
You got to get hype, dude. You got to get people stoked. But dude, I'm already stoked, and Sony hasn't even said much shit about it to begin with. So I'm excited, man. I can't wait. I can't wait to hear what people are gonna say about this. Hopefully, it's not bad. I can't imagine it's gonna be bad. It might just be average, right? It might be like, yeah, this is kind of what we expected, But I hope
I need someone to write one of those Civil War love letters about it.
Yeah,
talk like that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. It was on the eve.
No, I'm pumped.
The 18th of September, 22. And I woke up from a dreary dream, and attended the TGS show. Yeah, I would love to hear some sort of like poetic letter like that. Would be so good. What if people wrote reviews like that?
Exactly, it'd be wild,
dude. I think we're on to something. What if that's our approach, right? Like old Civil War letters, but we're reviewing games. There's a very niche audience that would love that shit.
So I live in Indianapolis now, and one of the Colts quarterbacks, Andrew Luck, someone made a Twitter account, and it was like Colonel Andrew Luck, and every week, whoever was running this Twitter account would write about the game or whatever the news related to the Colts, but they'd write it like it was some old 1812 war letter, and shit was hilarious.
That's so good, dude. This is so good. When where I work, which I'm not going to talk about where I work, but I had a friend. I have a friend who works there, and every once in a while I would like assign him an assignment, and it would be like, it's now the 16th hour of the day on blah 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 blah. I would mess with him, as his boss. And I'd be like, unfortunately, this assignment has fallen upon you to address in a time of need, And I would just put this out to him. And I probably took more time to write that letter than it would take for him just to get the assignment and do it. But that's all about building morale in my unit. So it's so funny. He loved that. He loves that shit. He's not in my unit anymore, but he got transferred out to something else. But anyways, hey, let's move forward. One more news point. We're going to get into the current games that have come out or are coming out this week. This one isn't like a super crazy story. This is just a news point that I wanted to talk about. The Dark Pictures Anthology. I've played them all. And I've enjoyed them. This is Supermassive Games' little project. They're the same ones who did The Quarry. The fourth installment of the Dark Pictures Anthology, I forget what it's called. The Devil in Me, is going to be released now November 18th, which is just coming up by the end of the year. And in order of my favorites, I will say the weird thing about this is it seems like they're getting better with each release. So I did like the mental math. Which ones do I enjoy the most out of these ones? The one I enjoyed the least was the first one that was released, Man and Medan. I liked it when I played it, but then when I played the second one, Little Hope, I liked that a little more. And then when I played House of Ashes, I liked that a little more. So like they're on a nice trajectory. And I don't know if the critics or reviewers would say the same. I think The Quarry did relatively as expected. It wasn't like a smash success, but it also didn't bomb. They're good. They found a nice little spot in the gaming world to make these types of games. But The Devil in Me looks really cool. That's coming out November 18th, 2022. LJ, if I remember correctly, you're not really into horror games. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah. I downloaded the one that was free a couple months ago.
Man and Medan, I think.
I'm interested to try them. because you know kind of hyped them up, but no, I haven't tried them yet.
Yeah, they're not super scary. They're good though. I like them. So, anyways, just a little something for the listeners. I'll be looking forward to that. And let's get into new games here. So we have quite a few games being released. There is something that you and I didn't talk about, and we'll jump back to it. And that's the Last of Us remake. Some of the extra stuff that has been talked about that game's going to feature. But new games this week, August 30th. This is already out by the time this released today. They were recording. Commandos 3 HD remaster on PS4. Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed, which is a remake, I believe. PS5, PS4. Dusk Diver 2 on PS5, PS4. F1 Manager 2022 on PS5, PS4. Inscription on PS5, PS4. TMNT, the Cowabunga Collection came out today, PS5, PS4. Tinykin on PS5, PS4. Coming out on Wednesday, August 31st. Phantasy Star Online 2. PS4, and then coming out on Thursday, September 1st, Chenzo Club, PS4, and The Mysteries of Ranko Tagawa, Murder on the Marine Express on PS5, PS4. And then Friday, September 2nd, big day for game releases because we're going to get JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, All-Star Battle R on PS5, Lego Brawls on PS5, PS4, Made in Abyss, Binary Star, Falling into Darkness, PS4, what a fucking name. And then The Last of Us Part 1 on PS5. Two things about that. The one thing that Jake said seems to be the case. The game used to be called The Last of Us. They've made it 2, and they called it The Last of Us Part 2. And it probably drove somebody nuts at Naughty Dog that they didn't have The Last of Us Part 1, right? So this is now officially The Last of Us Part 1. So they're calling it like the way to play this game. They've shown some more video clips as we get closer and closer. I believe the embargo on this game is not lifting until tomorrow, maybe. So the reviewers who have it aren't permitted to even talk about it until tomorrow, which is a little cause for concern unless there are spoilers or something in it that Naughty Dog is going to surprise us with. But then I was thinking, if they were going to surprise us with something that would possibly get me to want to buy it, they would have advertised that. So I don't think we're going to get anything outside of what they've already talked about. I will say that I do think that the game looks smoother, it runs better based on what I've seen. The accessibility options are just amazing. They've overhauled all of them so that they match, if not exceed, The Last of Us Part 2 accessibility options. Outside of that, man, I mean, you are getting the DLC that came with The Last of Us. I forget what that was even called at this point. I don't know, but it's a fantastic game, and it seems to be it's going to reinstill, I think, some interest in the franchise just before the HBO series releases next year. We did get a trailer for the HBO series, teaser trailer. We didn't really talk about that. Lay it on me, LJ. What do you think about all of this with The Last of Us?
I mean, Jake freaking nailed it when he said they did that to rename it. I think there is actually something to that for sure. I mean, I'm hyped. I mean, actually, The Last of Us was one of the first games I played when I got my PS5. In fact, you helped me through one of the part through game sharing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm pretty excited. Am I going to go out and get this for $70? No, but if it goes on sale down the line, absolutely. I've only played through it one time, so I would definitely play through it again. So yeah, for me, it's kind of a mixed bag, but again, they did put a lot of time into it. It does look great. I think some of the gameplay stuff, it's just like, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it's just like, was that really the best use of resources? Like, these past few years. Yeah. But I don't know. What about you?
The more I think about it, I think right now I'm a little hurt about it because I would like to think Naughty Dog, like you said, would have been working on something else. And I think they are. They just don't have their entire staff working on something. When this game finally, it's gold, it's getting released, I hope to God they don't have to keep working on this to patch stuff. I hope they don't have to keep pulling people aside to like, oh, they found another error, they found a glitch. It's unlike Naughty Dog to have to service their games in that manner. Usually everything they release, it's picked over, it's clean, it's why they're Naughty Dog, right? They're elite. They are 100% elite at this. They're next level. So hopefully it doesn't, once this is out, they can continue to work on or pull their forces back into the new project they're working on, which is probably Factions. We know that they're working on that, but hopefully they can bring some people into that to speed up the development of that game. Right now in the moment, I think, I'm looking at it as, man, I'm really kind of bummed that this happened. But in 5 years from now, when we have Factions and I can play it, or I have the latest Naughty Dog game, and this is just becomes part of their catalog, Last of Us Part 1 on PS5, I think I'll look back at it and be like, I am kind of happy they did this. But right now it's kind of hard to pull myself out of the present tense. But I think when all is said and done, I don't think it was a bad idea, because The Last of Us, we'll call it Last of Us Part 1, Last of Us Part 1 was one of the best games I had ever played. And that's saying a lot. And I don't think it warranted, I don't think it needed a remake. But it sure as hell isn't going to need a remake in 5 years now. It's not going to need one in 10 years. This is it. This is the version, right? So whatever they're moving on now, no one can now say, you need to go back and remake The Last of Us. They've done it. It's done. You have it. They're ahead of the curve. You get your game. You get it remade. Now let's move on to what's next. You know what I mean? So I think when I have hindsight and I can look back at this, I'm grateful that this happened. But right now, I'm just kind of annoyed by it. I don't know. That's my take.
That's fair.
Yeah. All right. Well, good enough.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. But I probably won't buy it. There's a guy I work with who's like, I'm not buying that for $70. Same game. They didn't do anything different. And he told me he has a pre-order. So, I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He can't resist. He can do trophies. He's a trophy hunter. So, anyways, dude.
Like I said, I'll buy it at some point, but not for $70.
Yeah, that's the boat I'm in as well. Yeah. Well, dude, it's been a good podcast, and I really appreciate you joining me today, LJ. This is number 2 in the bag for you. I forget what number of podcast. It was 238. We're nearing 250. It'll be a while before we get to 250, but we're getting there. And maybe what we'll do is we'll try to plan a special episode. We'll get you and Jake, on a podcast together. Maybe bring in Jake's brother, Josh. He's been on the podcast once with us, maybe twice. I'll get some people. And, another thing that I thought about doing, and just out of respect for the patrons, if anyone is interested in offering some commentary and you're interested, let us know, and Jake and I can work it out. Maybe you can join us on a show. You know what I mean? If there's a specific topic that you want to, if you're a patron, this isn't an invite to everybody. You got to be a patron for this, and you have an okay. I would ask that you are able to, have some sort of video like LJ and some way that you can talk to us over Discord. But, if you want to be a part of the show, even for maybe even a segment or something, just to talk about something, a game that maybe is coming out, or if you want to offer something and want to join Jake and I, maybe I'll talk with him about this. Obviously, I'll talk with him about this before we put it out there. But if you're interested in maybe being a guest host like LJ is, and LJ, you're more than welcome to come back on whenever. Obviously, I've told you this before. You did a hell of a job today. I appreciate it. But I just started thinking that we have this really cool platform, Jake and I, that we've created, and it's not like we're a huge podcast, but we're building the community, man. And I'm so excited to have you part of it. And I know we have other patrons on there. Sean just joined. I think my cousin Jeff is involved. Harold's involved. We've got a bunch of different people. Clint is a patron. We have patrons, and it's awesome. So if you're listening to this and you want to be more of a part of this community, the way to do it is through Patreon. $1 a month, and feel free to comment on the posts I put up on Patreon, on the episodes. I try to get back to everybody because there's so few of you. Usually it's not a challenge for me to write you back, but I do like the idea of recording intelligent or unintelligent conversations with our listeners. You know what I mean? And if you are not camera shy or not weird about being heard on the podcast and strictly just talking video games, because that's what we do, it would be cool to maybe meet some of our other patrons and introduce you guys to on the show. So just a thought. But LJ, I really do appreciate you as always. And I think that as of right now, if I can't make it or Jake can't make it, I think you're the go-to guy right now. So I appreciate that. And you can take that however you want, but we do appreciate you. And, you're a good co-host, and you're always polite. And, yeah, man, I think the listeners liked you last time you were on, and I'm sure they'll appreciate you. Without you, this podcast would not have happened this week. So thank you.
Well, thank you for having me on again. This podcast is honestly a big reason I got back into gaming. So just appreciate you, Jake, and all the work that you two do. And just sharing your thoughts. I mean, it's just super interesting to listen to. I think you folks are, think about things from a unique perspective. You're funny. It's a lot of fun. So again, thanks for having me on. And if you're not a patron, it's a freaking $1 a month. Just try it. Just do it for a few months. I mean, just sign up and you can always back out. But support these guys. Are doing a great thing here, and get a cool ass sticker, which I actually put up. I was a sticker hoarder, but it's in my living room on the side of my bookshelf.
Yeah, so. My camera's not going to focus very well on it, but there it is. It's going to look backwards in the video because I have my screen inverted, but that's essentially our sticker. It's like our logo. So, yeah, man, thanks for saying that. And as always, I've got one last thing to ask, and that is show me who you are. I'm just kidding. So, like Sea of Stars, Shadowrun Trilogy, and Skate. P.S.
P.S.
This is awesome.
This is awesome.